What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and sorry I kind of went MIA for a few days out there. I spent some time with the family, enjoyed Halloween. A lot of you were worried about me sleeping, so I took your advice and took several long rests back to back. But I typically have dark circles under my eyes anyway, so don't worry too much about me. That being said, I also have been prepping for various night shifts regarding various storms and inclement weather that has come through, so I need to make videos when I can, and I happen to have an opportunity to do so right now. And I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that something I hadn't really heard anything about, the announcement was actually made last Thursday, but there's going to be a D&D live-action TV show being made. I'm not sure if you saw this, but yeah, 9:42 in the morning on Thursday the 30th, comicbook.com put out this article, and I had no concept of it as existing. So a big shout out to my friend Jordan with the silent PH in the middle who let me know about this article. So yeah, Brian Golder, the CEO of Hasbro, announced that their entertainment arm was in the early stages of developing a D&D TV show. They're working on a couple of different approaches, because there's so much mythology in canon for a D&D live-action series. There's been a very strong interest. We've talked about many global streamers and terrestrial broadcasters have been very interested in Dungeons & Dragons, go figure, right? So then it goes on to say they're already working on the live-action movie, which is currently scheduled to be released in 2022, so 2 years from now. Apparently they were people working behind it were working on a script earlier this year, and then they go on to state the things we kind of already know, but D&D is bigger than ever and it's growing exceptionally well. Had a 20% increase in sales compared to year-to-date earnings in 2019, and they're saying a lot of this may be because of COVID-19, because a lot of forms of entertainment are not available to us when we're isolating, social distancing, quarantining, and so on. D&D you can still do online, and it doesn't need you don't have to be in person. It's a thing you can do to keep yourself entertained. And they go on to say that Critical Role and the Adventure Zone are making animated series. And then it says, again, they go on to mention The Witcher, Amazon doing a Lord of the Rings and the Wheel of Time show, and that it only really makes sense for D&D to get a live-action property as well. And then no other details were announced. Such a project will likely not be ready for at least a few years. Still, it might not be too long before we get an in-depth exploration of the Forgotten Realms, Eberron, or one of the many worlds of D&D. Well, we know it's probably not going to be Dragonlance. So anyway, that's just interesting to me. What a world we live in. To think, I mean, we're getting D&D animated series in the forms of Critical Role and the Adventure Zone. I just think back to the D&D cartoon, and how it came out in like a really weird time in D&D's history. Like if a D&D cartoon series came out right now, it would probably be huge. Then again, I also feel like cartoons in general and live and more like high action cartoons exist and are better now than they were back in the 80s, because just the way animation techniques have improved, that you can truly dictate fast-paced action. It wasn't nearly always the case back then. There were some good examples, don't get me wrong, of great action cartoons back in the 80s and maybe even prior to that. But the way we have as far as animation techniques go now allow for more interesting things like that. Also, again, now would be the prime time for a D&D animated series. Also, if it's going to take several years to put out a D&D live action series, now granted, I don't think D&D is going to lose popularity at all. But the longer you wait into the life cycle of a edition of a game, you run into problems. And by that, I mean, like, look at, say, Neverwinter, the MMO, right? It is a 4th edition based MMO, and 5th edition is super popular right now. So they went through efforts to change all of the 4th edition terminology in the game to remove it, to make it more just like generic, like you're not the Oathbound Paladin, you're the Paladin. But the longer you wait to make an animated series now, or an live action series, it still could be a really good fantasy storyline and action show regardless. But if you want to make it like in theme, like how Baldur's Gate 3 is doing for, with Larian Studios doing that, it is 5th edition inspired. So if you know 5e, you kind of know how some of the aspects are going to work. I think people would want to be able to draw comparisons to the 5th edition game that we know with the the live action series or the movie, right? Oh, that guy's using warding flare. I know what that ability is. Oh, look, he needs to take a break. That's arcane recovery. Like, you know what they are because you play the game. You want to be able to correlate that to things in the show. So the longer you wait to make this come out, the closer and closer you might get to a release of 6th edition or 5.5 or what have you. Maybe I'm completely off base on that, but as you do better with that, or as you get further along, you have the more chance of you're not dealing with the same edition, and you may lose a slight disconnect there. I don't know. Again, if it's really well done, it doesn't really matter what edition it's in, but you would want to see that, I feel like. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think a live action series is the way to go? I'm very curious. I mean, The Witcher is great, so I guess if I'm using that as a basis, that's fantastic. And I'm very curious about this Lord of the Rings animated series, how that will do. We've seen how they handle it with the movies. That obviously has a much higher budget, but the action is interspersed with drama scenes, but you're only there for a short period of time, so you have to jam pack it. If you were going to make a Lord of the Rings long-running series, how would that do? I mean, I guess we've seen things like The Witcher and Game of Thrones, so we know how that can look. But honestly, I feel like you probably would be better to do a Dungeons and Dragons animated series than a live-action one. I mean, a lot of us have callbacks to the old live-action movies, whether it be the really, really bad one with Jeremy Irons or things like Wrath of the Dragon God or Book of Vile Darkness, the lesser-known ones. I don't know. I think animated series is the way to go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you all again for sticking with me, and for so many of you pouring out to ask me questions about my homebrew world on that community post that I made. I actually have spent about, oh God, I don't know how many hours just answering everybody's questions. So you really helped me develop my homebrew world, and I appreciate that. I do have a 50K giveaway going on right now. Unfortunately, my Spooky Time giveaway got a little bit delayed. I was hoping to have it out in time for Halloween, but work and everything else, and you know, family obligations and whatnot, I was not able to finish constructing it, which is part of the problem, that I need to physically build what is part of this this giveaway. So I'm hoping to finish that today, and then I'll be able to put out the giveaway with a short turnaround, so you guys can get a really awesome custom project from me. Anyway, check out links in the description for all sorts of cool stuff, and I will see you all next time.